We are going to use a lot of color tonight. I want to get into adding color to our projects. We all have our own preference, which no matter if you like darker color, brighter color, um, softer color, if you're designing for a boy or a girl, all these techniques that I'm going to show you tonight will help you accomplish all those. So what I'm going to do is we are going to kind of build this little canvas book, this little canvas album. It actually comes like this. It's basically two pieces. They're canvas shapes, but I want to go ahead and make a little album out of them. And as you can see, there's a printed one in white, and then you have your natural canvas. And I'm going to kind of show you techniques on how to use both of these. Okay. And I'm also going to show you how you can alter some of Prima's products to kind of give you a unique little touch to your project that you may not have thought of, or you may have, and I'm just kind of giving you a little friendly reminder. So a lot of the stuff tonight's going to be technique. You will be able to basically build a mini album from the techniques we're using. I basically like giving you guys the base, and then you can build on it, because I know a lot of you know how to do the embellishing, and your style is going to be different than mine. So I want to show you big techniques tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to make a mess tonight. And I figured, why not use my craft mat instead of abuse my cut mat any more than I already do? Oh, thank you, Carrie. So first off, I'm going to kind of introduce you to some paints that you may have used, may not have used yet. First, I'm going to be using Shimmers paints in pearls, and also their Shimmers mix. The Shimmers has actual, a shimmer, like glimmer to them. The pearls have more of a pearl finish, which I really love. We're going to use these. A lot of techniques in ombre, mixing colors, blending light tones, things of that nature, and giving you different ideas on how to do it. Also, altering your papers to give them a different look without over powering the paper. So let's start with the cover first of all. And in the cover, I am going to introduce you to another paint, is the Dylusions. These, I love these paints. They're really bright in saturation and color. And that is what the paint I used on the cover of the canvas insert, or I guess your cover. We'll go ahead and start with that first. And when you're coloring, when you're blending with paints, always go light to dark. Because if you go dark first, you can't cover that up. If you go light and you've sprayed too much or too little, you can always add more and cover back over with your darker color. So let's start with that. The colors I'm going to use are, what is this? Squeezed orange and post box red. So we're going to start first with our orange, and you can even add another third color in this mixture. Hold on real quick. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with our orange first. And we don't really need to shake these because these are pure pigment color. And I'm just going to start at the top and kind of work my way down. Now, as I get to the middle, I kind of want to lighten my spray a little bit. You can see where my spray lightens as I go further down. That way, when I blend the two colors together, they'll blend a little more evenly, and you won't have this harsh color cut across your piece. Now, you're probably asking me why I thought of this idea for my project this month. Well, one is the ombre technique and look is very popular in everything right now, whether it's scrapbooking, whether it's fashion, anything. It's kind of a trend. That, and I fought so much last month with my hair dyeing the ombre effect. I figured I'd have more success using it on canvas and paper. So we'll just go with that. Yes, this is really dark, rich color. For those of you who like really vibrant colors, these give that nice effect. I'm just kind of dabbing some of it off, some of the color off. So there's one technique, is to blend two or more like colors. Same, when I say like colors, I'm talking about in the same basically spectrum of colors. So this one, I would go from one primary color to another primary color. So you have your red and your yellow, and I would go anywhere from that red to yellow color. So your oranges, any of those tones. I'm doing my class, buddy. You're gonna have to wait. I'm only one here right now. Dad's not home from work yet. So if we have any interruptions, I apologize. So back to that. Same with, say you have your red to blue. You can go from your red all the way through purple to blue. You can blend those primaries together. And anything in that little quadrant, you can mix and match and they'll still work together. So that's kind of a nice little fun technique when mixing colors and doing this technique. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to set this aside and let it dry for just a second. Now, blending color, you can also add your paints and your sprays to your molding pastes, and that's what I'm going to show you next. And I apologize. All right, so as you all know, I'm a huge addiction to fiber paste. Now you can color this before you even put it on the project. So I'm just going to put this down. Okay. Put that down here. Make sure you wipe your palette knife off if you're not using it, because the fiber paste and mediums will stick to your knife fairly quickly. Now, the spray I'm going to use, I have a little bit of the Colorings by Shimmers paints. I'm just going to open this up. Make sure I shake it up. I'm going to open this up and just pour a little bit into my fiber paste. And then I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. And as you can see, I'm tinting my fiber paste. Now it thins it out a little bit, but it doesn't matter because once it's dry, it'll reform to its original base, its original texture and thickness. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to add these softer, lighter colored touches just around here and there, just to add texture. You know me, I can't leave anything just plain. Have to add it. Now if this is too pale, what you could do is go back over it with your lighter spray and add pools of color on top of it. But this gives you a nice way of adding just a touch of color. You can do it with gel medium as well. You can also do it gel medium. I suggest using a purely dyed base paint to add to your gel medium. Your alcohol inks actually will work with the gel medium, mixing very well because they're very concentrated, a very concentrated art medium. Okay, let me clean some of this up. I mixed a little too much more, a little more than what I needed, but that's okay. All right. And adding the dabs of fiber paste kind of gives it a little different look. And you can use this technique on any surface, whether it's a small card or a large scrapbook page, mixed media. I love using these techniques on cards because you can get a really fun, easy card and quick card by using a few little supplies. Okay, take it back out there. Okay, next, let's put that back aside again. So now we have this, we're going to let it dry a little bit. I want to get into a couple of our inside pages. Now, first of all, how many of you guys, I know I really enjoy you all joining us. It's kind of a little time away during the week to fit a little art into our mundane lives or our hectic lives. Well, one thing on top of this Prima is doing is our Prima Art Venture, and I wanted to share this with you real quick before I forget. How could you forget? I want to share this with you. This is a weekend full of Prima and scrapbooking and mixed media, and we have some amazing artists coming to teach you guys. It's January 18th through the 20th. We'll be presenting that CHA Lisa Gibbons new lines, which is very exciting. If you haven't already, search Prima's Facebook page for some of the videos we've been releasing. She kind of goes, especially the latest one, this last one we uploaded, it goes into why she is creating scrapbook lines with Prima and why we're working alongside her with some of her projects. So make sure to check that out. All of the information you need on this weekend. I mean, we have a lot of packages and options available. So if you can't make the full 2 days, we have a lot of other options for you to choose from. They're going to have games, they're going to have giveaways, they're going to have all day make and takes and tons of classes. And I know Carrie's going to give you the link, but if you don't have a link, go to regonline.com/Prima event and it'll give you all the information. And I'm really excited. I hope to be up there and to see you guys. It's in Palm Springs, so who would not like to have a little getaway to Palm Springs? I know I would. So just make sure you check that out. It's going to be a really fun weekend, and I know that's kind of just a way for us creative people to have a weekend away to enjoy our pastime and our hobby. So back to our project. This one, what I want to show you is using some of these paints. Now these similar to acrylics, but they have the nice shimmer in them. And these again are from Shimmer's Paints. I'm going to grab a paintbrush and I'm just going to go ahead and stir these up. These are nice because they're in these are in a little well, and so you don't have a lot of mess when you're trying to get the shimmer and everything from the bottom. Oop, I'm going to shake or stir this one up too. Brush some of that off. And as you can probably tell, I have 3 different colors in front of me. One light, one medium, and then one dark. So you could probably guess what I'm going to do here. But I want to add another little element before I do that. And this is a really neat technique when you have a really bright background paper and you kind of want to dull it down a little bit, but you're not quite sure how you want to do it. Go ahead and grab a piece of tissue paper, just white tissue paper. Okay. And you can use a sheet, the full sheet, or you can use bits and pieces of it. So let's put those aside. I wanted to stir them before I got started. And you can see, you can even use the paints that sit in the lids. So first, what I'm going to do is I have my tissue paper. Now, I suggest doing it this way. Leave your paper a full size, or at least rip it close to the size of your project, and crumple it up. Okay, you want to add a little texture to it, just like this. And again, this is a really nice technique to, 1, give a white background some texture, or 2, if you want to dull down the background of a really bright background paper. So let's grab some water. And what I'm going to use to decoupage this onto my background piece is the Fast Finish Decoupage by Beacon Adhesives. This, you can bond and seal with this. It's a liquid, so 1, it doesn't take as long to dry, and 2, I find it easier to work with. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to get my paintbrush wet, just a little bit. You don't need it sopping wet. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just spread it on my paper. I'm just going to add it to my paper. And then you're just going to spread this on into an even, semi-thin coat. You don't want it too thin because it could also dry before you even get your paper on here. As you're gonna see some of my paint from my mat seep in there. Okay. Now again, I'm not going to cut this to size. I'm going to leave it somewhat oversized. And the background paper I'm using right now is watercolor paper. I just get the, semi-cheap pads at Michael's that don't cost too much. I wait till I'm cheapskate, and I wait till my 40% off coupon. Now, if you have some spots that aren't quite clinging together, go ahead and spread this on the back of your opposite paper. Now I'm going to go over the top. Now this will seal it, so that I'll have somewhat of a finish. And you'll notice that some of your paints may not stick well to the finish, the decoupage, but you can still paint over the top of this, which is really nice. Okay, so this is kind of what my background looks like right now. And again, I didn't cut it to size. I'm going to wait till it's completely dried and that I've painted completely over the top before I cut it to size. That way I'm not worried about exact measurements, and it's just easier to trim it off once it's done. So let's go ahead and hit this with the heat gun real quick. Now I have another step before we get to the paints. So I'm going to hit this really fast. Another thing is, I like that I can hit this with the gun and it dries without falling apart or cracking, anything like that that you may get with gel medium and the other decoupage products. Okay. This piece, the piece of paper on top is just a piece of tissue paper. All right. Okay. So it's already dry, and as you can see, I have some corners that have lifted. I can go back in with some of that later. Now, first, before I paint on top of it, what I want to do is I'm going to take one of my stamps, like this. This is the Zephyr. This is the Zephyr stamp set. Really nice little stamp collection. Dreams, and there's butterflies and flowers and a little crown. Really pretty. So I'm going to take this little flower stamp and the butterfly stamp. I'm going to go ahead and ink those with my Prima chalk inks. Let's use this brown one. I'm going to use teak wall. Come on. Gotta open it. And I just want to add a little accent towards the bottom before I paint it. So I'm going to take my stamp. It's going to have a broken look to it because of our texture on the paper, on the tissue paper. So I'm just going to push it down. I'm going to use the butterflies. Okay. And just make a couple little images. I'm doing this because I don't want my stamps to be my main focal point. I'm going to hit it again with the heat gun. I want them to just be kind of a ghost underneath my paints. And that's why I'm doing this first before I paint on the top. All right. Watercolor paper, you can find, let me show you a pad. You can find them like this in a pad at Michael's. I don't know if the whole thing's fitting. But you can find this in a pad at Michael's. They come in different sizes. I just get the basic. I don't get the most expensive and for projects like this. I just get one that has a decent heaviness to it that I can add to my pages. In scrapbook pages, my mixed media albums, things of that nature that I know will hold up to all the art mediums I'm going to use. So I have my stamp on here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going, again, light to dark when you're mixing paints. I'm going to take some of my shimmers. And I'm just going to paint right over the top. I'm going to start at the bottom. Kind of like a morning sky or night sky. Night sky. Where it's starting to get dark, the sun's kind of setting, and as you look up, It slowly gets darker. And this technique is really great for those who like subtle touches of color. They like the paint, the look of the paint, but they're kind of intimidated by the bold colors that we had done on the cover. So this is a kind of a nice little technique for those who like color, but it's really not their style. So you can see the really subtle color difference. I'll add more so you can definitely tell the change. And see how the paint is picking up into our little crevices of, dry some of that off, our crevices of our tissue paper. Okay. See that? Yes. I mixed the darker color is shimmers in aquamarine. It's a really pretty dark teal shimmery color. The second color is pearls, and that is Blue Bayou. And they're heavy. The pearls are heavier. This is pearls, a limited color, and it's mint julep. Very faint color. I like a lot. And as it's still wet, you can kind of mix the paints together to kind of blend the colors a little more as you prefer. And then again, once this dries, you can go ahead and go back in and trim up your paper around it. That way you're not worrying about measuring beforehand. And then what I would do is I would take my chalk ink of a similar color and take it around the edge of the paper. Okay, so that's one little technique you can use in your mini albums, especially if you want to dull down a nice pattern paper. It's a fun and quick way to alter that. Alrighty. I really like the texture. I really like the texture of the tissue paper. It just adds another little element to the page without adding a lot of depth. Okay. All right, so next piece, I'm going to actually take next little technique on embellishments. Now, I know some of you probably have already done this, but you've seen Ingvild's new Junkyard Trinkets or Junkyard Findings. And we have these adorable little bulbs. I love these guys, okay? We also have bigger ones, which I want to find to show you this technique with, because it'll be easier to see. Okay. Now again, this is technique class mainly tonight. And if you would like to have any more details on how I embellish this at the end, please let me know. Okay, so here are the larger ones. I know the larger ones kind of look intimidating, but I love these things. So to kind of change up the color, you can do a couple of things. You could take your alcohol inks, which I really like, and all you have to do, if you can get it open, is go ahead and drop the alcohol ink directly onto the back of your bulb. I put too much on it. Don't tell, okay? Let me grab a piece of paper towel. These would be awesome to do for Christmas, taking your green and your red and your gold. And as you can see, all I did was add the alcohol ink to the flat back. And you can see how quickly we changed the look of these cool little bulbs. Alrighty, these would be really pretty on the front of a Christmas card or a little tag on a Christmas present. So that's one fun little altering technique. Put those aside till later. All right, so another way you can do the ombre effect, okay? Another one is using our lovely pan pastels. Pan pastels, honestly, were created to blend like this. And they make it so easy to do. Alrighty, so what I'm going to take this time is I'm actually going to use a piece of our paper. And excuse my little bulb, but see our yellow paper? We have this nice, this is part of the Zephyr collection. Let me show you the page. I'm kind of limited on this stuff, but I want to show you the actual paper it came from. Okay, that's the back, and this is the front. Okay, and what I did was I went ahead and used to make inserts for my little house. I went ahead and used my house as my template and traced out a few pieces of the paper. This is the Zephyr collection, and this actual paper is called Zephyr. Now, this page has a lot of stuff going on it, but it's a lot of the same color palette. So what I want to do is I want to soften a lot of the busyness in the background with some of our pan pastels. And again, I'm going to use light color just because I kind of like the uniformity of using the same palettes. So let's go ahead. I'm going to open my little bag boys up. If you're looking to get a new, I guess, art medium, a user-friendly art medium, I strongly suggest the pan pastels. All right. So I'm going to take my little sponge, my soft tool, my little sponge, and I'm going to again start with my light to dark. Now I'm going to take this yellow color. Okay, and this one is what is it? Diarylite yellow. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start at the bottom again. And all you do is you take your sponge, you blend this up into your paper. All right. Next, what you're going to do is take your next color. Let's see. I'm going to take an extreme here. Let's go ahead and do the orange. And I'm going to start in the middle of where I want my color. And then I'm going to push that color down into my yellow. Okay, let me move these out of the way real quick. Okay. Again, I'm going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to push it down because I don't want the bulk of my pastels blending first into my color. I want to push those colors into. Okay. And another great thing about the pan pastels is they will last you a long time. I know a lot of us may have used, the pastel sticks in school. These are way better, just saying. Okay, now I'm going to turn it around. Now that I'm going to go in my next level, I'm going to take some of my orange and I'm going to blend it upwards so that I can create my next layer. And as you can see, the further I go, the more muted my design on my background's getting. You can see kind of how I've muted it and kind of toned down the busyness of the background paper. Because I know some people, they really like the look and they really like the prettiness of the paper, and they get it home, and some of us buy maybe 5 sheets of it because we have to have it. But then once we get it home, we don't have any clue what we're going to do on this paper. Okay? So this is a nice way to use up those sheets that you weren't quite sure how you're going to use it, but you had to have them. And this is a neat way to kind of tone it down, cover it up a little bit. And just by using a few pan pastel chalks, you can do that. Now I'm going to go really dark. This might be too dark, but that's kind of the color palette I have. Okay, this is a really pretty brick color. And again, I'm going to start my little line in the middle, and then I'm going to push that down into my orange. And you can see how the two blend really well together. And it's all about blending. And these are really easy to blend. Okay. All right. Blend this up. And this is going to be the last color I use. And this has toned down the background enough to where you can actually use stamped images on top, and it would still stand out against the busy background. We need to add a little more color. The dark brick's kind of overpowering it a little bit, but that's okay. We'll just add a little more orange. Kind of tone down our brick a little bit. Okay. All right, so we have our little background we just created. And let me go ahead and do a couple stamped spots on top. Now again, these are pan pastels, and you're gonna want the tools. So it makes it a lot easier as well. And here are some of a few of the tools. You can see you have the little fine pieces. You have the larger sponges, and then you have the smaller sponges. Okay, so that is that. Now let's go ahead and use our stamps. Alrighty. I don't know if this is dark enough, but we'll go ahead and use the same ink. And this again is Teak Wall. It's a medium brown. I am not huge on using bricks for my stamping, and that's probably why half the time my stamping looks kind of horrendous. Alright, so we're just going to put this down in the corner. Okay. See, look at that. And then you could add your little photo and your little flowers kind of anchoring your picture. In the picture, the light doesn't really do the background justice, but all right. There is another page. And like this one, I cut into a piece of paper that had a lot of tags and such on it. So this would be a really good page to use that technique on, because you've got so many colors going on this one piece of paper that you can kind of blend them all together so that they still look uniform enough to go ahead and use, instead of wasting the back and not being able to use it. So that is another one. All right, so some of you have asked about the gelatos. Now I'm going to show you how you can blend these gelatos together. Now let me grab them. Excuse my reach. Okay. I'm going to do blues for all you boy moms out there, which I am one of them, as you all know. Okay. Let me grab another piece of my cardstock that has gone up and disappeared. All right. Now you could also do the ombre effect with the, let me do this one real fast because this is a quick one. With your distress stains, what I do is I go ahead and start with my lighter color, and I actually go all the way across with my lighter color, okay, for the base, because it is more of a fluid medium. I go ahead all across the bottom of my paper. Then I go to my next one. I go halfway up. This one's really dark. And then I'll do the bottom. Yep. Just like that, okay? Now check this out. I have all these colors. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to add water all the way across. Now I should have used a color that was more like these two, but you can see where these two colors are mixing together. Just by adding a little bit of water, it gives it that watercolor effect to where the colors bleed together. And this is a really cool little technique you could do on flowers the same way. What you do is you take a white flower, I have one right here. All right, so I have a white flower. Now I want to get my flower completely wet. I don't want it dry. I want to get it completely wet because this will help those inks blend better. Okay. I don't have a spray mister, or I would be misting these wet. It doesn't take as long. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull it off of here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch the tips of my flower with the ink. And then I'm going to take the paintbrush, and go back over it with more water. And you can see how it gives that variegated color. Come on. It's not going to focus now. Sorry. Okay, it's not working. There you go. So you can see, you can add even more color to it. And the more you add, the further the color will bleed down the leaf. The flower should be wet. The flower is wetted because it gives that absorption of the paper. It gives less absorption of the paper so that the paper can't automatically suck up the inks that you're putting on it. It gives the paint room to move on top of that paper. Same with your regular watercolor papers or even your background papers. You could do the same thing. Now let me move these and I'll show you on this one. Getting it wet first allows that paper to, it stops the paper actually from sucking up your ink as soon as it hits. Okay, I hope that kind of tells why. All right, now the gelatos. It's similar technique. I just put my finger in all of that darn extra fiber paste. And any of you who've taken a live class from me will know I am not the cleanest at teaching classes. Okay? Alrighty. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my white. I'm just going to put it straight on my paper. And I like these. I like to do this technique in like color blocks on my page, kind of to create a little backdrop. I'm going to do my darker or my medium. And, oh, wrong end, my dark. I like creating kind of mattes for my photos this way. I'm going to take a piece of paper towel first because I want to blend it before I take my water to it. So I just take a piece of paper towel. You could take also like a little makeup sponge. Same thing. Just kind of blend it out. Blend our colors together. Kind of get away from the like crayon type texture you have. Okay. You can see they're already blending. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wet brush to them. And you can see how they'll even spread out further. Now I should have started this from the top or the bottom. That's okay. It's still the same thing. See how far those blend out? And I could even add more to it. So I want a little more dark blue. When it's wet, this will activate it. The water will activate these quicker than if I put it on dry. All right. If I have too much color, I can go in with my paper towel, kind of wipe some of it away. Yes, these are gelatos. I don't have the colors, but it was the blue color pack you can find in your local craft stores. Most of them have them in color packs. Alrighty. So yeah, this is another one. I like to use them, say, in the middle of a color. Here, let me cut this, and I'll show you kind of what I mean. Okay, so I have this color, and I want to make a focal point on this background page. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a different one. I'm going to do like a circle one. So I'm going to start in the middle with my dark, just a little circle. Then I'm going to go on the outside of it with my light. Alrighty. And I want to do the white because it'll give that kind of a halo look to it. And these are another product that is very easy to use, very user-friendly. They, I promise, are not intimidating at all. And again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and smooth it out a little bit, just so that I have an even surface before I add the water to it. So again, I'm going to just kind of blend those out. Add water. You can do a little square the same way. And I'm going to kind of blend this in. Now, as you can see, I kind of just created, it's hard to see on the video, but I've just created, I'm going to add more dark blue. Created a nice little focal point that'll help my photo stand out against my background paper. And what I do is I try to find a color that is similar to my background color that won't contrast it too much. Okay. Add more water to thin it out. And then I kind of just clean it up with a piece of paper towel. All right. So that's another one already. Okay, how much time do I have? I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and decorate and finish the cover. All right. So I want to show you a few little tips on this one. Now on the cover, you can see I have a couple little highlighted areas. I have a couple little highlighted areas on the cover. And what I use to do that, let's make sure my cover's dry. It's dry enough. It doesn't take very long. These are, and also another thing, how much color I added to the front of this. I added all this cover, or color onto the cover, and barely any of it seeped into the back. So that's a huge deal to me because I like being able to do multiple colors and techniques. So that way I know I have a nice clean surface on the other side. Okay, so on the cover, what I used to get that little white highlight are my new favorite tool. My new favorite tool are these Montana acrylic ink pens. This is canvas, or actually this is more of like a linen, I guess, like a printed linen. But the back is full canvas. This is a natural unfinished canvas. And they're all nice and stitched. This is one of Donna Downey's. They come in two pieces like this. It comes with your white and then your plain. I punched holes in it with using my Crocodile and added my papers in the middle. Once I have the full book put together, I will go ahead and try to share pictures later in the week or next week. It'll probably be next week because I'm kind of starting this whole homeschooling thing. Somebody should have warned me before I did that. All right. Okay, so these acrylic water-based, they're water-based. They are refillable, and I have never had a problem with them drying out or anything like that. So to get it started, especially if you haven't used it for a while, just kind of dab it on your work surface. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go in, I kind of covered a lot of them up. I'm just going to go in and highlight some of my little flowers. Now I used the big pen and I should have used the smaller one, but you can kind of dab that off. Let's do these. This one. Alright, you just kind of color them in. You could use the finer tip pen and get right into those crevices. But this is a really fun way to just add a little bit of contrast against your bold colors and highlight some of the details that are on the cover. You can kind of see the slight difference that the white pen adds. Now, the more your cover's dried, the more contrast it's going to create. My cover's still a little wet, so my white pen is picking up some of the wet paint on the background. All right. Okay. Now, next, we have these fun little buttons. These are also which ones are these? These are Zephyr, I believe. Zephyr? Are these Zephyr? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of these little dimensional ones with the designs on the top. If I can get the pack open. Oh, the pens again are they're Montana acrylic paint pens. They're Montana cans. If you look up Montana cans on Facebook or montanacans.com, Aaron Brothers, and actually I found some of these at Michael's the other day. So check your local Michael's back by the spray paints. They're with spray paint cans, and they have them a bunch of different sizes. They have, this is like their kind of medium. They have a larger one. Excuse me, girls. And they have a really fine tip one, which is awesome. That's another thing that sold me on these little fine tip pins. Work amazing on projects. Okay, and they have a big, huge, wide one too. But I think these sizes are pretty good to start with, especially if you're just using them for scrapbook pages or art journaling. So yeah, one of my local Michaels carries them now. But Dick Blick's, I suggest buying them there. If you do, they're cheaper. Their prices are better, but if you can find them at Michael's as well, and Aaron Brothers. Okay, so we have our nice little piece right here. Now these, I like that they're such a big contrast, but again, I kind of want to tone them down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my alcohol inks again, but this time I am going to use my mixatives in copper. This has more of, this is an alcohol ink, but it's got a metallic to it. All right, I'm going to mix it up. Now I'm just going to go ahead and drop it right onto, I haven't used these in a while, so just a second. Montana cans. Okay. Okay, I think I've got it mixed. I got that a little wet. I'm just going to do one of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop that right onto my little button. I'm going to let it dry just a little bit because I don't want to take all of the copper off, but I want to leave the copper in the crevices of the designs on top of the buttons. Copper's kind of a favorite. Yeah. All right, so the second middle one, I'm going to kind of just dab it off, blend it up a little bit. Gives it kind of an antique-y feel. Okay, so that's one of the ones finished. Okay, so we kind of just doled it down a little bit with one little product. Easy, you drop it on the top and then you just kind of wipe it off. Okay, we're going to use that one. I'll put these two, let me go ahead and dab these ones off as well. Kind of blend the color in a little bit. I'll use these on other projects. Gives them a uniform look. Okay. Alrighty. Now our new little embellishments. God, I've got paint everywhere. I really liked that this time they came out with clocks and tickets because really I love the clocks. These are also the Zephyr. And I am going to go ahead and use this little yellow guy right there. And I'm going to use my my orange flower. Now this dude's a little big for the cover, I feel. So I would probably, I'm going to pull part of it apart. I'm going to take away, let's say 2 layers off the back. Now save these 2 layers, all right? Don't throw them away because these are perfectly good layers that you can go ahead and make little, say, flower buds like this. If you fold them in half and glue them, you can go ahead and make these little flower buds to put peeking out of other layers of flowers and things like that. I know people cry because we pull them apart, but you got to do what you got to do. Okay, so we have this one. I took some of the bulk away. I don't want too much bulk, so let's go ahead and place that one here. Now I had to substitute my little flower, okay? I couldn't get another one of them. So I have my little leaf. Oh my word. It ran away. Grab another one. easy access, right? Okay. Here's our little leaves. I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to alter it real fast. I'm going to do our little technique we just did on the flower. I'm going to get, my paints or my water's turned colors. Okay, get those wet. I'm just going to add a little bit of ink to the insides. Now when you're working on canvas, I always suggest when you're using inks to always get it wet first. You will use a lot less paint and spray if you wet your canvas first. It'll take your paint a lot further. Just a little helpful hint. Alright. Color them bad boys. Add a little more water. Kind of dilute them. And right now, you know, everybody's trying to figure out a way to get the most for their money, which I'm right there with you. So any little tip and hint possible that can help that, I'm more than willing to share. Okay, so I'm not going to use this whole stem. So again, I'm going to cut it, and I'll save the extra for the inside of my book. So I'm just going to cut it right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and dab some of the moisture off. All my supplies have invaded my space here. All right. We'll take that up there. Okay, let's see. My little banners. Now the little banner set that came out this last time is full of different tickets and banners, and you can see the banner I used in this one is like your typical scroll type banner. And what I did was I sprayed over the top of it with some ink spray. Let me show you up close. Hopefully the light doesn't totally distort it. Come on. There we go. And I just hand wrote my little title on there. You could also add some of the Prima alphabets on top of there as well if you don't want to handwrite it. Or you can use the Prima Press, which is another one of my little favorite tools by Prima to stamp in your title. So let's go ahead and pick a little banner out of our collection here. Let's see. As you can see, look at all these different shapes we have. You have your little fun banner, which I think I'm going to use that one. I really like it. You have the straight banners. All these different little pieces. You have little ticket type stamp looking ones. Alright. So fun bits and pieces on all of those. Alrighty. So let's put those aside. Let's see. What does this one say? And if you have a problem, you're wanting to know exactly what's the reason, because all of these have a resist pattern on them, which is really cool because it's kind of a surprise sometimes. But if you're not big on surprises, you can definitely hold these up to the light and you can see where your resist is, which I kind of like this one. I think I'm going to use this and then add another little flower, okay? So let's go ahead and use this one. Let's see, what color should I do the banner? Banner. Let's see. Any suggestions? Also, you guys, I'm going to do a green, good color. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use my Distress Stain. I'm also going to do another little challenge on the Live with Prima Facebook wall again this month. So all you have to do is go ahead and use just one of the techniques that I showed tonight and create a project using it and post it on our Live with Prima Facebook page. And one of you guys will win a pack of Prima goodies. Alrighty. So make sure you get that. I'll give you till, let's say, the 18th of November. Sound fair? Okay. The 18th of November, if you go ahead and you do a project, any type of project, it could be a card, a tag, a page, using just one of the techniques I showed tonight, and share it on Prima's Facebook Live with Prima wall, you guys will have a chance to win some Prima goodies. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take this and dab some of the color off. And as you can see, the really pretty resist, especially with the darker colors, the resist stands out really nicely. Okay, very pretty. So I'm going to just add this with a dab of glue. And I'm using Fabric Tack by Beacon. And if you know me, this is all I use. Nothing else besides 3D foam squares enters my arsenal of adhesives. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this one down. I know I'm covering the door, but no biggie. Okay, let's go ahead and glue our pieces down. Oh, I grabbed the wrong bottle. Shh, snarkies. It's just the decoupage. They're similar bottles. The large bottle of Fabric Tack looks exactly like it. All right. Put my little watch down. Put my flower down. Now I find kind of a solid base embellishment, like a piece of chipboard or a little wood piece here, and I kind of make that my base element. And then once I start layering, I start with my main focal point, which is usually a large flower, and I put that down next. And then what I do is I'll go ahead and embellish around that large flower and kind of fit pieces here and there as I see needed. I don't kind of plan them out. I just kind of wait to see where the pieces best fit together. So here's our little altered button. It's kind of peeking out there a little bit. Alrighty, our little banner's curling up a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue down here. Alrighty. Okay, next, I want to show you these butterflies. Now our metal strings, these little guys. Alright, we've got a few minutes. I know it's getting a little late. I'm almost done. Now these little guys, let me get it out of the packaging, come on a nice piece of twine. And in this set, there's flowers and different sized butterflies, alrighty? And they all come on jump rings, which is really nice. But you can also use them without the jump rings, which I'm going to do. I'm just going to twist it off the jump ring that's on here, because I want to use them as standalone elements. I don't want to add them to any project. Okay. There's one. Here's one. Oop. Here's one. Yeah, these are really pretty. These are kind of like an antiqued brushed gold. The design that's on the butterflies. Let me see if I can get it up close. The design on the pieces have like a vintage finish in them, so you could see all the little detail. Look at those. They're very pretty. I like how they don't look, you know, shockingly new, which is always nice. Okay, so I'm going to add my butterfly here. And you know what? You can cut these little tips off, the little rings for the jump rings. You can cut these off. I don't have my pliers with me, but I would just snip the little ring off of the top of here, which isn't very hard at all. So I'm going to put one down up here. I'm going to put one more down by my flower, or on my flower, I should say. All right. Now I just need one more flower to put here. Let's see. Let's see. That's too big. You know me, picky, right? I kind of wing it sometimes with you ladies, because I always like to give you guys more ideas than I originally come up with. Okay, I'll just add this little guy right here. Whoop. Okay, I'm going to add in this little flower bud. I'll go ahead and cut off one of my leaves from my vine from earlier. I lied, I won't save it for the inside, but I will use it. Okay, tuck that there. I'll add some green to it in a little bit. I can add the date of my mini album onto my little tag. Okay, so this is basically my cover. Oh, another little fun thing I like to do, see the little splatters on my flower? I really am in love with the acrylic artist inks. Okay, this is by FW. And what I'll do is once I'm done with the project, I'll go ahead and take my little dauber. It has a little eyedropper. And I'll just go ahead and drop some of the acrylic paint. And because this is acrylic, it will dry on anything. And you guys are probably just cringing right now. But again, this isn't a technique you have to use. It's just a little added something that's those that like a lot of color and the funky mixed media look. It's another little tidbit you can go ahead and use. So that is the cover, and then we went over some of the techniques for the inside. I wanted to give you the techniques, and you guys can build off of those because I know you are all awesome. Alrighty. Okay. I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions before we start? I'm going to stop record, but if you guys have any questions last couple minutes, let me know.